Hello everyone, I am the immortal Kevin Donovan. Welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for coming back. Story time. I'd like to tell you a quick story about the time I went and saw a little band called Linkin Park. Now, Linkin Park had come out with the album Hybrid Theory several years before I went, and at the Great New York State Fair, they had I don't remember if it was like an amphitheater or what it was. There's about 2,000 people there, give or take, for the show. What had happened was, I was living in the Thundercats lair with my housemates. One of our good friends was the program director for the radio station Wild 104. His name was Matty J. Matty J sent out a group text at one point. By the way, we all had flip phones at the time. So I had this on my, I don't know, what was that called? The G2 or something like that? I don't remember. But it had the LG flip phone is what I had at the time. Anyway, text comes across and Matty J's like, hey, I got passes to go see Linkin Park at the Great New York State Fair. And who wants in? And me and a few other guys like, yeah, we'll go. So I jumped in. My buddy Kenny and my buddy Benny all jumped in, a.k.a. Drama. So Matty J pulls up to the lair. Saturday, I guess. I don't even know. He had a cooler in the back, and we loaded it up with stuff. Some road sodas and some food and snacks and whatnot. Headed up to Syracuse, where the Great New York State Fair is held. We just motored up there, just kind of playing music, hanging out, jamming. And I didn't really know what the plan was. I didn't really have a plan. These were free passes. I didn't have much money on me. I had a little bit, but I didn't have a lot of money. And I was like, well, as we were getting up there, I was thinking, how do we get in? He's like, we got passes. I was like, all right. So we drive up there and we pull around, and there's parking. Is a crazy situation for there. If you ever been to the New York State Fair, you know that parking's a nightmare. But they had giant fields where everybody was parked, and Matty J pulls in, and we're swinging around this giant parking lot, and he goes, well, I kind of want to be inconspicuous. And I was like, all right. He's like, yeah, I'm thinking we're going to tailgate for a while and just hang out and have some drinks, and then we're going to just go in just for the show. We're not going to go to the fair part. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So the one fucking place that he picks, he's like, oh, this is a good spot, and he pulls up to where the gate that we're going to go into. It's not the main entrance of the fair. In the back corner by where the theater, or I guess I keep calling it theater. It could be an amphitheater. I'm not really sure what it was. It was an outdoor venue kind of. But there's a gate to go into that, and we parked kind of close to that. It was actually kind of nice parking. But not 100 yards away from us, not even 100 yards away from us, was the fucking New York State Police substation that they had there for the fucking fair. And Matty J wants to hang out the back of he had a nice Jeep at the time. He wants to pop open the back of the Jeep, lay down the cooler, and hang out and start drinking beers and partying. And I'm like, the fucking cops are right there. And there might have been a left-handed cigarette going around maybe or something like that. But the cops were right there. I couldn't believe it. So anyway, we pull up and Matty's like, don't worry about them. They don't care about us. And I was like, okay. So anyway, we crack open the cooler. He hands out the passes. We're looking at him. We're talking. We're drinking some beers. We're hanging out. We're having a good time. And we got a few hours before the show starts. And we're just standing in this grassy kind of field with some random people walking by once in a while, trying to face away from the cops, having our beers. We get the idea, well, let's sneak into the fair. So, why wouldn't you? And we just ended up walking through an open gate. There's nobody there, nobody checking tickets, no nothing. We just walked in. There's an area where they had, the radio stations had their own truck or trailers kind of thing. And there's a bunch of radio stations lined up. And Matty J, being a program director at Wild 104, he knew all those people. And I don't know if they were all under the same, it wasn't the iHeart Radio people at that time. It was, they were still separate, I think. But Matty J knew them. So we walked right up and started hanging out with all the radio people, all the radio personalities that were up there. And it's the New York State Fair, so all of them were up there pretty much. So he's chatting with them, and he's like, oh, let's go back here. And you literally had to go up on the platform where the radio stations, there was a trailer, and the front of it came down, and then there was a table and a couple of people with microphones, and they were DJing, on the radio. And these trailers are right next to each other, and there's a space for one person to walk single file between them. But you had to get up on the stage and then go through. We got up there, we're talking to these DJs, and then Matty's like, come with me. And he walks through this thing, and I'm like, oh, that's weird. Let's go backstage to this, I guess. We go back there, and that's where all the DJs were hanging out and partying all day. And I didn't know that. They had all kinds of stuff. They had their own little cove set up from behind all these trailers where away from the public, you couldn't see. They had picnic tables and all kinds of stuff. So we went back there and just started partying with all the DJs, having drinks and doing all kinds of stuff. Matty was like, don't get thrown out. Don't go out in the fair. If they check, we don't have any tickets or anything, they could throw you out. And I'm like, well, I want to go get some food. Like, let's go hit up one of the food stands, get some chow. So me and Kenny and Benny bust out. We go hit up a food stand, and Benny and I, because we brought a bottle of vodka with us too. Big bottle of Svedka, I think it was. So Benny and I got those big, tall yardstick lemonades, but just lemonade, because we were like, well, we're going to drink this halfway down, then we're going to fill it up with vodka, then we're just walk around with that. It's not a bad idea, right? I don't remember what year this was, but I was obviously still drinking and partying at the time. We get all this stuff, and we're like, wait, how do we get back in there? And we're like, oh, the only way to get in is to get back up on stage and go through that little hole again. And so we head back that way, and when we start walking around stage, all the DJs were like, what the fuck are you doing? Who are you guys? We're like, with Matty J. And they're like, who? And then we just walked right past everybody and went out back, started partying again. That was a lot of fun. I don't know if we were supposed to be there or not. It didn't really matter. Outside of that, we have our food. We enjoy. We hang out and party with everybody back there for a little while. Showtime's coming around. We go back to the Jeep, and Benny and I got our big lemonades. We're trying to drink them. Cooler still got cold beer in it and everything else. And we'd stuff the bottle of vodka in there. So Benny and I crack open the vodka, and we start dumping this vodka into these big lemonades that we had. And we're like, yeah, we're just going to bring these in. Like, Maddie was like, how are we going to get beers in? We're like, we're not. We're just going to have these lemonades that we bought here, and they're going to let us in with these lemonades. This is what we thought. What had happened was we filled those things up, and by the way, we're chugging them too. We're not just sipping on these. We're chugging them right down. I had mine like half full of vodka, and it was like a full liter of vodka was in mine at least. We're sipping these, and it's strong. So I'm just trying to sip it and it has those big wide straws, bigger than those McDonald's straws, big plastic ones. So I'm like, trying to like knock this thing down. We get up to the gate, and Matty J does have passes to go into the concert. So we have passes for that, and there's security there, and we go up to them, and they're checking our passes, and we're going in, and they're like, okay, and they're kind of checking us. Obviously they don't want any weapons, they don't want any glass bottles, stuff like that. Benny and I go to walk in, and they're like, hang on, you can't bring those. And I'm like, it's just my lemonade. They're like, yeah, we don't want you to you're not supposed to bring containers in there. You're going to have to either finish it or throw it out. Benny and I just look at each other like, no, these aren't lemonades. These are special lemonades. Betty and I are like, let's chug it real fast. And then they're like, wait, why do you guys want to chug your lemonade? Just throw it out. And we're like, no, it was expensive and it's really, really good. And I don't want to just throw it out. And they're like, weird that two guys are sitting there chugging giant lemonades like their life depends on it. I slammed as much as I could, and I got to the point, because it's pretty much vodka. I got to the point where I'm almost sick, and I'm just, well, that's a hard motion to make, isn't it? So I'm chugging down this lemonade. Finally, I had maybe a quarter of it left, and I'm like, I bow out. And I just tossed it in the trash and showed him my thing, and I walked right in, and Benny was right behind me. Well, the cool part that Matty J told us about that we had on those passes were backstage passes. So we were going to go meet Linkin Park before the show, which I thought was fantastic. So we get through security. We go back there. Matty J kind of wanders kind of through the crowd, but around the edge. And there's like a gated area that we kind of congregated to. And there's a couple security people out there. And they're like, only people with backstage passes come around here. And we were like, boop, like laminate. It was in Wayne's World when they got the backstage passes for Alice Cooper. And they're walking around, showing them up. Yeah, that's exactly what we were doing. Backstage. So we're in this little pen area, kind of hanging out, and there's probably, I don't know, it starts gathering more and more people as time goes on. We're standing out there for half hour, 45 minutes or so. Finally, people start kind of lining up with the gate, and we didn't know where the entrance part was. We were just kind of all milling around, and I just kind of worked my way up with guys, but I kind of worked my way up to the front corner. That happened to be where the opening part was, and a guy finally comes out. He's like, all right, line up, come on, let's get some line up here. So I just kind of stepped in front of a few people and went right to where he walked out. I went right to that corner and stood there. Everybody kind of lines up behind me. A guy comes out and he starts handing out posters. Oh man, maybe I can find that. Hold on. I'm going to go look for that. Maybe I can actually find the poster. Okay, I'm back. Sorry for the pause. I forget where I was in the story. Oh, we were lining up to go in. So I was the first one there because we had milled around, and the guy said, hey, you're back, get in line. So we all get in line, and everybody kind of lines up behind me, and a guy comes out and starts handing out posters. And I was like, what the fuck is this? And it was this. The new album, Minutes to Midnight, is why they were on tour and why they were doing that. So I get this poster, right? And it doesn't have all these squiggly lines on it yet. So I'm holding this, and I'm like, all right, that's weird. What am I doing? And they said, all right, come on in. And they start ushering you through all this little maze of, that that metal like gating fencing that they have at, control crowds. They had like a maze of that set up. And then there was one big dude opened up a flap of a tent and said, "Go in." And I'm like, "All right." Now, mind you, I'm the first guy walking through, and I walk into this tent, and the guy lets go of the flap, and I walk into a tent, and it kind of flops behind me, and I'm like, "Huh." I literally am like, "Huh." And I turn around, and I look, and they're sitting at a table. Are all the guys from Linkin Park and me sitting in this tent. And I was like, "Oh, that's what this is for." And right then I heard someone yell out, "Don't bring anything else in. They're only going to sign the posters." And I'm like, "Oh, they're going to sign." So I walked right up to the table, and this guy, he's their, I believe that was their lead guitarist. He always wore those fancy headphones. He was the first one sitting at the table, and I walk right up, and I'm like, "Hi." I put this little poster down, and I go, "Hi." And he puts his hand right out, and he shakes my hand, and I was like, "Hi, I'm Kevin." And he said his name, and I don't remember, and I was kind of like starstruck at this point. And he grabs my poster, and he spins it around, and he rips off a signature. He goes, "Thanks for coming, man. Appreciate it." And he slides it down. And then the next guy, I believe that's Chester. That's Mike Shinoda. I don't remember these guys' names. These guys. So I went down, and I went one at a time, and they started ripping off signatures on here. And I was like, "Oh," I'm trying to come up with something to say, and all I can mumble out is things like, "I'm a real big fan. Thanks, guys. Oh, man, you guys are awesome. You're such a big fan." And my buddy Benny's right behind me now, and he's got up to the table. But for a second, I was the only one in the tent with Linkin Park. That guy, the lead guitarist, shook my hand, and I was like, "Holy shit." So they're signing, and they slide, they're sliding it down. And then all of a sudden, a guy reaches out with a marker, and I can tell these very distinctive wrist tattoos of flames. They're edged here, and they go up his arm, like that way. And he's got them on each wrist going up. That's Chester Bennington, who has now passed, God rest his soul. That guy. That one. Chester reaches out, rips off his signature. That one. I remember that one. Can you see that? I want to get it in the light just right. That one right there. That's a big C for Chester right there. Chester does that, and I go, "Wow, man." I was so starstruck at that moment. I didn't know what else to do. But I had my cell phone in my pocket. Now, what I had, I think I said it was the LG before. I lied. I had the Nokia flip phone. I don't remember what number it was, but the back of it was silver, like the color of my monitor, like this kind of silver right here. I reached into my pocket and I pulled that out, and the battery case, the backside was just smooth, like it was just like this, just this kind of stuff right here. And I said, "Hey, do you mind signing my phone real quick too?" And he goes, "Sure." And he ripped it off, signature on the back of my phone. And I said, "Wow, Chester, you're awesome. I can scream just as loud as you." And he goes, "Okay." He keeps signing. I didn't know what else to say. I was starstruck. Shinoda was actually first before that. I don't remember which one. I think it's this one. I think that was Mike. I could be wrong. I'm not sure. Fucking firing these off. I get to the last one. He signs it. And I was like, the security guy's like, "All right, go. Let's go." Trying to let's get the line going back out. Had my little poster. Now I'm like, "Oh, I just met Linkin Park and they all signed my poster." I was starting to walk out, and then I was like, "Wait, you're like the little kid from A Christmas Story, little Ralphie. You're blowing it when he's sitting on Santa's lap, and then he doesn't say anything, and then they put him down the slide to go away, and his head's rolling. He's like, you're blowing it. And that's what went through my head. And all of a sudden, the security guy's got me. Like, he's not pulling me or anything, but he's got his hand kind of like on the back of my shoulder a little bit. He's kind of like ushering me out. And I just stopped because I felt his hand kind of like, he was like, "What?" And I just spun around, and I'm like, "Thank you guys so much. You guys are awesome." And all of them, all 6 of them, stopped, looked up, and they all went, "Thanks a lot, man. Enjoy the show." Like, all of them, almost in unison, like all together. And I was just like, "Thanks, Linkin Park." So they usher you right out into like towards the front of the crowd, and I kind of linger for a minute, and they're like, "Go," and I'm like, wait for my buddies. So my buddies all come out. They all got the same exact poster, all the same signatures, probably in the same spot. I don't know if I can show that. Look at that. So they all got the same poster, signed, the whole nine. They come out, and we're all like, "Yeah, oh my God, that's awesome." But now I got to sit through a whole show, and I got this poster. So you can see these creases. I'm trying to show it in the light glare maybe a little bit. There are these creases in the whole thing because I literally had to fold this thing up and stick it in my back pocket because I had nowhere else to go with it. I do that, and I got my cell phone, of course, and I threw that in my pocket. Matty J's like, we're going to the front row. And I'm like, what? He's like, we're going to the front row. So I was like, what? So I fold that up, stick it in my pocket, and I follow like a SWAT team going through a building. Like my hand on his shoulder, elbow up, and and we're just jamming through people. And we were front row. We were probably about 4 rows back, a bit off to the right, but still right up front, like right there. If Chester spit, it would hit me in the forehead. Like, we're not that far away. We didn't have these fancy phones yet. But even on that flip phone, I remember holding that up and taking pictures. I have no idea. If I find those online, I'll definitely upload them here. And if there was no picture there, that means I couldn't pull them down from where God knows where they were. I would never delete them, but I don't know if I can recall them either. So we're sitting up at the front row, and we're waiting for the show to start, and I already knew that we were going to stand there for like another hour because there was a ton of people behind me. I was the very first guy that walked into the tent to get the signature. And my crew, my other 3 guys with me, were right next to me when that happened. And I was like, fuck, they got to go through like 200-300 people doing the same thing. And, we're going to be here for a while. And they had been having shows all day. And it was a hot summer day. I think it might have been August. I don't even remember what time of year it was. It was summertime for sure. They had one of the stage guys was standing on the ground in the very front center, and he had a garden hose. And he was spraying people down with the garden hose. I'm like, this ain't motherfucking Woodstock, bro. Like, people haven't been here for 2 days. People have been here for like 2 hours. Like, chill out with the hose. So I'm standing there, and I got my red fitted hat backwards because I think I'm Fred Durst because this is the time frame that we're in, right? Limp Bizkit, Korn, Linkin Park, Kid Rock, all those bands. Like, this is early 2000s. It was probably 4, 05, somewhere in there. Anyway, I got my red fitted backwards. I had a red flannel shirt on. It was a brand new shirt, and the hat was still pretty new as well. This asshole starts spraying people down, and we're still, like I said, we jammed our way up to the front. All of a sudden, I'm getting hit in the face with a goddamn garden hose. I'm not even sweaty. I'm like, dude, what are you hitting me with a hose for? He's just blasting people. I was more worried about my phone, because even nowadays, phones aren't, well, some of them are waterproof, but these, you don't want to get these things wet. I have my phone, I'm like, don't quit fucking spraying me. And actually, I was more worried about the signature coming off of the plastic, because it was just a Sharpie, you know what I mean? Like, I was worried it would get wet and it would wipe right off. Sure enough, it faded real bad. And my buddy tried to touch it up with a marker, but he kind of did a shitty job of it. If I can find that phone, I'll go look for it. I don't know. Well, God knows where that is. But I'm pretty sure I kept it. And I put a piece of clear packing tape over the back of it once I got home after we touched it up. Put a piece of clear tape over it. So my cell phone had Chester's autograph there. Get sprayed in the face with this fucking hose. Thanks, guy. It's not even that hot. Well, I was pretty hot. I'm not going to lie. It was summertime. It was pretty warm out. Now all of a sudden, I'm like, I feel like I'm soaked. And I look down my shirt. I got red just dripping all that. Oh, the dye from my shirt's just dripping down me. I'm like, they're going to think I'm bleeding or some shit. We're standing there. And now it's getting, like, we jammed our way in there, and it's already packed, right? Like I said, there's like 2,000 people, coming for the show. Or more. I'm guessing 2,000. I don't really know the number. A fuck ton. A mega fuck ton are coming for this show, and they're all excited to see it. And I remember we're standing there, and it's starting to get closer and closer, and we're, already shoulder to shoulder, and people are packing in, and you're getting crushed, and I'm like, oh, this isn't good. And after a while, I didn't care about my phone or the poster. I was just like, I'm worried about me at this point. There's several times the entire crowd just surged forward. I'm not a big man. I'm not tiny. 5'9", and I was probably 210 pounds at the time, good 210. Like, I'm not little. I got pushed from behind by a mass of people, and my hands are up like this. I got pushed into the people in front of me, and next thing I know, my feet are off the ground. I'm getting pushed up in the air, and I'm like, I don't know where I'm going! And then some smartass behind me starts quoting 300, because that movie had just come out. He did it in the best fucking voice of Leonidas. He just goes, push! Spartans, push! And people just start jamming. I'm like laugh panicking. So I'm somehow laughing and trying to breathe, fearing for my life and safety, but also that was fucking hilarious. So I'm trying to laugh, trying to survive. The crowd's getting crazy. Finally, that kind of chills out. Security's out there. They're like, back up, chill out. We kind of spread out for a second. And there's a younger guy that was next to us. His parents, his mother and father, were to my left and behind me a little bit. And he was like right behind me. His dad said something. And I was like, yeah, this is crazy. And I was like, oh man, this is fucking nuts. And we just kind of started chatting. He was a nice enough guy. He was a few years older than us. Not an old man by any means, you know. I'm in my mid-late 20s at this point. And that guy was probably in his late 30s, early 40s, my age now. He wasn't old. It was, you know, but he was dressed appropriately. You know what I mean? He didn't look out of place, and his wife didn't look out of place. That kid must have been about 15, 16. He was a good-sized kid, you know. He was my height. He was a lot skinnier than me, though. Maybe he was a couple inches shorter. Doesn't matter. He's standing right there, and he's all excited. He's going crazy. You know, it was his first concert ever. And I'm like, you're lucky. My first concert ever, by the way, side story, and this will be a whole nother video. My very first concert I ever went to was, no joke, at the Veterans Memorial Arena in Binghamton, New York. It was my sister's birthday, and she wanted to go see Milli Vanilli. That's not a joke. The very first concert I actually went to, not by choice, my father bought 4 tickets for my sister, mother, him, and me. I was dragged to a Milli Vanilli show in the 90s to go see lip syncing at its finest. That was my first concert. I was not a happy camper. I literally sat through the whole this is not a joke, through the whole Milli Vanilli concert. I just sat like this for like 2 hours. It was hysterical. So anyways, I'm talking to the guys, the kid behind me, his dad. They're cool people. Spread out a little bit now. It's been about an hour since I had that thing signed. I'm like, let's get this show on the road. Maybe it's 2 hours. I don't remember. We're standing there for a long time. My buzz is wearing off. I'm starting to be like, come on, guys, you're killing me. They had this giant white curtain that was hanging up. All of a sudden you hear like band music, but like the guitarist picking up a guitar and like bing boom, wah, wah. And then you hear the their quick sound check, like, is this on? And you start hearing that kind of stuff, and everybody starts yelling, and whoa! I could physically feel the energy start building. I could feel it. It was awesome. I don't even remember the first fucking song. I was already losing my mind. This kid was like, I want to crowd surf for like the last like half an hour. He's like, I want to crowd surf. And I'm like, you just let me know when, buddy. And I was looking over at my friend Benny, who's next to me as well. And Ben's like, yeah. All right. So I was like, Ben, I kind of gave him the nod, which meant, in my head anyway, Benny, when this kid says so, we're just going to grab his little ass and just chuck him up in front of us on people and see how far he can go. And Ben's like, he gave me the nod back. And I was like, cool. So kind of like, with not a word spoken, we had that plan ready to go. Come to find out after the fact, Benny and I, absolutely on the same page. Totally on the same page. So the band starts. They start playing an intro. I don't know what it was. It might have been Crawling. I could have been. I'm not even sure. But all of a sudden it's like they slowly build. Everybody starts going screaming and yelling, and they got this giant curtain there. All of a sudden a giant light hits from behind the band members up onto the thing at us. So all you see are these giant shadows of all the guys in their spots on the stage. It was the craziest thing ever. Fucking, I think it was crawling in my skin. And when that first crawl hit, the white curtain just dropped. And they just went full fucking throttle. And I was just like, yeah! And just, I was jumping. I just lost it. There was a girl behind me, and she like hits me on, not like slaps, but she's like, hey. And what? And she goes, you're too much. And I went, thank you. Now I know what she meant. She meant, hey, asshole, nobody else is doing what you're doing right now. Stop doing that. That's what she meant. I knew that in the moment, but I also wanted to be like, fuck you. But She was really pretty, and she had her boyfriend right next to her. So I wasn't about to be like, fuck you, I'm going to rock out. So I was just like, thanks. I think in my flash in my brain, she was like, no. Like she wanted to explain, but I was like, get out. And I just start rocking again. I'm like, yeah. So Linkin Park's jamming, doing their thing. I grab my phone a couple more times. I'm trying to take pictures. Chester is up doing the you know how he holds the mic? He doesn't hold it, put his thumb around it. He puts his thumb like up on the top of it, and he kind of cups it like that. And he does that, and he gets his other hand on there so you can see his flame tattoos, and he gets his foot like a rock star stance. Gets his foot up on one of the monitors, and he just doing the damn thing. I got a great picture of that. Again, if I find that picture, I'll put it here. And if nothing happened, that means I couldn't find that photo. But anyway, so we're rocking out. I'm just rocking out. Chester's just being a rock star. And they're ripping through songs. And we were there for, I don't know. We were already there all fucking day. We were baking in the sun most of the day, drinking beers. Then we snuck into the fair, grabbed a little bit of food, and we're hanging out with the radio station DJs. Then I was sucked down almost a half bottle of vodka. And then we were standing around, got the cool experience of them signing the thing. But then I got sprayed in the face with a garden hose. Now I'm rocking out with Linkin Park going nuts. The kid goes, I swear to God, like you were in the middle of whatever song was going at the time. I don't even know. But Linkin Park's full throttle on the stage. 1,000 people are going ape shit. I'm going ape shit. The girl behind me doesn't want me to go ape shit anymore because I'm scaring her. The kid goes, throw me! I go, Ben! Ben's like, he goes, throw him! So I remember I grabbed the kid, and he wanted to go, so he was assisting, right? I grabbed the kid by his arm, and I reached down to his butt, essentially, and I grabbed his wallet in his back pocket because it was kind of sticking out. I grabbed his wallet and kind of twisted a little bit to like get some grip on it, and I literally grabbed this kid and just went, phew. I threw him like a bale of hay. And Benny grabbed him from the other side, did the same thing. We took this kid and just chucked him. Just chucked him up towards the stage, like that way. Never saw that kid again. Don't know what happened to him. He went up on top of some people. I saw the bottom of his Nikes go. And then I saw hands, like just hands. I did not see that kid again. Don't know what happened to him. I hope he made it to the stage. I don't know. Maybe he made it to the garden hose. I don't know. So I picked a kid up and chucked him. That was fun. So we're rocking out, having a good time. And then at some point, Matty J was like, that's it. We got to get out of here. And I was like, huh? Like my ears are fucking bleeding. They got these mega towers. It's a full-on Linkin Park concert. It's full throttle. And Matty J's like, circle the wagons and head west? What are you talking about? However, like I said, it's been a full day. We've been standing around for hours. Then we just rocked out for like an hour or so. Maybe 2 hours. I don't even... Time travels differently when you're at a rock concert. So we're fucking full throttle, and Matty J is like, boom, does that thing. I was like, oh, I don't want to go. But he's like, go. And it was his show, man. Like, he picked us up. He drove us out there. He gave us the passes. He got us in. If he says go, we go. So he starts heading back through the crowd. So we start heading back. Now, getting out is only slightly easier than coming in because it's still concerts in full swing. I'm sure I made eye contact with Chester because, like I said, I was in my bright red. I was hard to miss at that point. I think I was like, yeah. I think Chester was like, mm-hmm. I don't know if he pointed at me or not. He might have. But I was screaming, and he definitely looked at me a bunch of times. And like I said, I was the first guy that said a weird thing to him in the tent. Like, I can scream as loud as you. Can't sign my thing. Whatever. Benny, by the way, side note also, Benny heard me ask Chester to sign my phone. Benny whips out his phone, and he has the whole band sign it. And security specifically said, don't bring anything else for them to sign except the poster. But Benny and I got our phones signed. Rock stars. Anyway, we fucking circle up, and we start heading back, and Matty J and Kenny are going. I'm behind Kenny. I don't know where Benny is. I don't know if he's lost or dead or what. He was fine. But we started heading back, and man, it literally felt like I was in a bar fight. Like I was getting smashed and banged and elbows, and I was jumping around, and I was going nuts, so I was hurting my own body. My intestines, my internal workings were a little bit beat. My head was throbbing. The volume of this music was like nothing I've ever heard before. You could taste it. You could taste the music. That's how intense it was. It was amazing. We're heading out, and I'm just like trying to pop my ears or something, and I can feel the power of the music fading after every step that I take away from it. And I'm walking out, and it literally feels like I just walked out of a fist fight, like a full-on bar fight. It was wild. I didn't even get in a mosh pit. Maybe I was in the mosh pit. I don't even know. I was rocking out. We're walking out, and people are looking at me, and I'm just like, it's crazy up there. And they're like, whoa. And I'm just, soaking wet. I got red dye all over me from my shirt. I think people thought it was blood, so they thought like I was bleeding. I wasn't bleeding. Maybe I was. I got knocked in the face a few times. I don't know if I had a bloody nose or not. But we get out of there, and we march through, and people are just looking at me like, what happened to this guy? I'm like, go down the front row. You'll find out. So we end up heading out, and we get back to the Jeep. I called my ex-girlfriend because I was a little bit drunk and a little bit crazy, and I'm that kind of guy. And I called her, and I was like, so you know, I was just hanging out with Linkin Park. I had a backstage pass, and they signed a poster for me. That should be the thumbnail. Linkin Park signed my poster. Was at front row, Linkin Park show, 2004, New York State Fair. What an affair that was. We just actually went back to the Jeep, partied a little bit more. Maddie wasn't drinking at that point. He had chilled out. He only had a handful of drinks anyway. The other three of us, we were hitting the rest of that. We polished off the rest of the beer and the vodka and hung out for a little while. Still listening to the show. It's not that far away from us. We hear every song. Finish up our drinks and we jump in the car. The cops never bothered us. They never came over. They didn't even look in our direction. We were the least of their concern. They have an entire New York State Fair going on. They're worried about so much other shit, like kids being abducted and people stabbing other people. They didn't give a shit about four guys having beers in the parking lot. They did not give a shit. That was not a thing. We were all of age anyway, but they were just like, we don't care what you guys do. We don't give a shit. Do you have guns? No, I don't give a fuck. Just go over there. What a day that was. Long day. Long drive home. Props to Matty J. Matty J, if you're out there, man, thanks so much. What a time that was. What a good dude you are to have those. Like, because he was a program director at Wild 104. That's how he got the backstage passes. That's how he got 4 of them. He was privy to that through the radio station. So he brought us, and then we went to see Linkin Park, and they signed the thing. Minutes to Midnight, Linkin Park, 2004, New York State Fair. What a time. What a time. Featuring What I've Done. That's the song that Linkin Park does for the Transformers theme, is it not? What I've done, erase myself, and I've become. I can't sing it. I'm not Chester. I could probably scream, but I can't scream with tone and inflection like he's an actual talented human being. Gone far too soon. So tragic that he took his own life. I'm such a Linkin Park fan. Such a Chester Bennington fan. I was also a huge fan of Chris Cornell, who also tragically took his life. He was the lead singer of Soundgarden, and he did several other projects as well. I think he was he the lead singer of Velvet Revolver and something else? He did his own solo shit too. Chris Cornell and Chester Bennington were actually really good friends. They actually toured together, and they were good buddies. So tragic that they both committed suicide, and they both ended their lives far too early. What a tragedy, because they were so talented and had so much to offer the world. And Chester Bennington has a song that he recorded called One More Light, and it's about Chris Cornell taking his life. And it's if you've ever had a friend or a family member of anyone that you know of that had committed suicide, listen to that song One More Light by Chester Bennington, Linkin Park. If you're not crying by the end of that, you're not a human being. What an amazing show. What an amazing time. Wow. The immortal Kevin Donovan rocking out at Linkin Park. Whoo! What a day that was. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching this far in. Hopefully it's a good video. Hopefully I got some pictures in there. If I do, great. If I don't, I'm sorry. I'll be back soon with another story time, and I'll try and make sure that is just as entertaining, if not more so, hopefully more so. Until then, I'll see you next time. Peace.